taking the DeLorean back to July of 1985, when Back to the Future was released and has since become a timeless classic. Today, it continues to be enjoyed by multiple generations, old and young. So let's turn back the clocks to appreciate the greatness of this movie and go through some of the aspects that make it so great. Well, first and foremost, Huey Lewis and the News are a part of the soundtrack.
Hip to be square. Hey, Paul!
Whoops, wrong movie. But seriously, this movie has a fantastic soundtrack, spearheaded by the two songs from Huey Lewis and the News, The Power of Love and Back in Time. Huey Lewis even makes an appearance in this movie as one of the judges who rejects Marty's audition for the Battle of the Bands.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Next, please.
Yes, that's Huey Lewis himself, with the megaphone, ripping apart Marty's dreams as he plays The Power of Love. Anyways, what really makes this movie so great is the script itself. It's co-written by Robert Zemeckis, who also directed the movie, and Bob Gale. It's fast-paced and upbeat from the beginning and hardly ever slows down. Right from the opening scene, we get a clear sense of who Marty and Doc Brown are and what the relationship is like. But what I think is really special is the first 30 minutes of the movie. The exposition is masterful, always feeling natural and never forced. Most of the key seeds are planted in this time frame, and as the audience, we're given basically everything we need to understand and enjoy the rest of the movie. Some examples are the TV in Doc's house talking about stolen plutonium, and then Marty's skateboard hitting the case of plutonium a few moments later. Also, when the lady hands Marty the flyer and talks about the upcoming 30th anniversary of the clock tower being struck by lightning, this is eventually how Marty and Doc generate enough power for the DeLorean to bring Marty back to 1985. We also see a glimpse of how Marty's dad, George, is still a loser and how he's still being bossed around by Biff, something Marty helps him overcome to ensure he gets with Lorraine, his mom. And through Marty's mom, we learn how his parents met, George getting hit by Lorraine's dad's car, which eventually led to them kissing at the Enchanted Under the Sea dance. What's hilarious is that Lorraine thought George was birdwatching, but he was actually a
Peeping Tom.
And you also meet Marty's siblings. This is key because he uses an image of them to keep track of his future existence, or lack thereof, as he struggles to get his parents back together. I'm probably missing a few, but all of this foreshadowing is set up in the first half hour of the movie, and these moments all have eventual payoffs later in the story. This makes the rest of the movie rewarding for the audience, and the plot remains clear as it continues to unravel and we recognize these references. But going beyond the first 30 minutes, I think this movie has a perfect balance between the main storyline, which is Marty's need to get back to 1985, and the subplots. One being Marty's need to ensure his parents go on to marry each other, and another being his desire to save Doc Brown from the Libyans after they find and shoot him for stealing the plutonium in the present day. The subplots are meaningful and propel the main storyline forward, and they're also funny and emotional when they need to be. In particular, there's a variety of funny moments when Lorraine, Marty's mom, is trying to get with Marty, who's her future son, but she doesn't know that. Personally, I really like when she follows Marty to Doc Brown's house and asks him to take her to the dance, after Marty just told Doc that George had already asked her. But through this subplot, Marty learns a lot about both of his parents, his dad being a pushover for all of his life because of Biff, and also lacking the confidence to share his sci-fi stories. And he learns that his mom wasn't so uptight as a teenager.
Marty, I'm almost 18 years old. It's not like I've never parked before.
What?
For the other subplot, as the movie goes on, it weighs on Marty that he needs to save his friend Doc Brown from his future fate at the hands of the Libyans. I really like the scene where Doc Brown stops Marty from telling him about the future, which leads to Marty writing him the letter so that he can save himself from the Libyan attack in 1985. Both of these subplots support the main story, add depth to the characters involved, and emphasize the overarching theme of controlling your own destiny. And the subplots aren't just essential for getting Marty back to 1985, but for shaping what his life will be like when he does make it back. And his life does change significantly. But moving on from the story, I want to mention that the costume and production design are awesome in this movie. This combination really differentiates the two eras of the 80s and the 50s, which immerses you even more, really making you feel like you've gone back in time. And also, the makeup artist did a great job. The actors for both Marty's parents and Biff play their roles in both the 50s and the 80s during the movie. When the makeup is done for them to look older in the 80s, it's actually believable, and there's nothing glaring or goofy looking about how it's presented. Also, when Marty goes back to the 50s, Doc Brown does look slightly younger. And finally, there are three things that just elevate this movie to another level. Firstly, the DeLorean is just such a cool car. There isn't a better vessel to be able to travel through time in. Like, come on. Look at this thing. And two, Marty McFly really is Fly. The guy's style in this movie is just too good, regardless if he's in the 80s or the 50s. And third, the chase scenes are awesome in this movie. When the Libyans chase Marty in the DeLorean, this is a really cool action sequence. And then when Biff and his goons chase Marty on his makeshift skateboard, it's also really well done, with of course, a comedic conclusion. But to finish off, I just want to shout out the whole cast that makes this movie so enjoyable. Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd are perfect in their roles, but everyone shows up to deliver an all-time classic and to help remind us that we can control our own destinies. Hopefully you enjoyed this trip back to 1985, and let me know what you love about Back to the Future in the comments. Now make like a tree, and like this video, and subscribe to my channel, if you want.